This review may be an unpopular opinion, but No Way Home may be a proper name for the film because when it's all said and done, there really was no way home for Peter. Everything changes, and I don't like it. I'm the type of person that likes things to neatly wrap up in a bow, where everyone goes on living happily ever after. But in this one, it's just another bittersweet ending for our hero. I just felt sad for Peter, and that's not how I want to enjoy my Spider-Man film. A lot of the plot elements that shape the film are familiar, and it's fundamental to his character, but this story changes the whole tone that this Spider-Man series has been going for. And maybe that's the point, but I don't have to like it. As much as I was off-put by this series when it was first announced, I ended up loving it more than the other Spider-Man films. Zendaya as MJ, while weird at first, really makes sense here. All of the characters make sense in this universe. But when they try to make it more dramatic, it changes what the films have been about, and you're left wondering why you ever bothered with the series in the first place if they were just going to end it this way. So I really hope there will be a fourth film in this series that'll actually be a true good ending for everyone. I don't need the hardcore comic tragedies in these films. I just want a fun popcorn Spider-Man film that I can escape to, where the bad guys lose and the hero gets the girl. This film feels like it should have been the low point of a trilogy or the first part of a two-parter. It's like how most people felt after the Thanos snap, wondering what's going to happen next, and are these changes going to be permanent? The changes at the end of No Way Home served the story, but was it really necessary? And even then, I was left with questions. As far as the film as a whole, it's serviceable, albeit very sloppy in the way that they start things off with the multiverse. Like the writers didn't know how to make it happen in a more natural or epic way. Instead, they went with the silly joke and, "Oops, you ruined it, Peter." And that's all you hear in the entire film, that it's all Peter's fault. And really, it wasn't. MJ was right when she said it was Strange's fault, since he's the one doing the spell.
You know, all this is kinda your mess.
I thought this wasn't really in Strange's character, since at this point he's supposed to be a lot more mature in how he deals with his powers. He's really not supposed to be so relaxed about it all. But it was necessary for the plot, I guess. A lot of gymnastics were done to get this story to make sense, and even then it felt silly, but not in a good way. Since most of the film is basically an excuse for fan service, the plot isn't as deep or involved as the last films, and there's a lot of jokes here and there about the other Spider-Man films. It's okay, and they were funny, but I have a feeling that this film really won't stand up to multiple viewings like the last two. And aside from the Goblin, most of the villains were underutilized, and I feel could have been a more dangerous force like the Sinister Six if they were wreaking havoc throughout the city. I'm sure that there are a lot of ways that the film could have raised the stakes in this regard. Instead, it's a more personal film about Peter's personal growth as a character. So a lot of the times, the villains are not being villainous until the very end. But when there is action, it's just as entertaining as always. Ironically, I thought the best fight was between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. And although I appreciated the fan service, I feel like it relied on that too much, and didn't have much more to say than, "With great power comes great responsibility." But by the end of the film, there isn't much to show that he's learned that. It's more like he's learned that the good of the many is greater than the good of the few, which is basic as far as heroism goes, and it kinda cops out and doesn't resolve these characters in a way that left me satisfied. Sure, everyone's alive and well, but what of it? Everything's changed. It is fun to see old characters return again, but the story isn't deep, and it doesn't connect to the bigger picture of the Marvel Universe as far as I can tell. Perhaps it will if and when the fourth film is made, but for now it's basically a standalone film connected only to the last Spider-Man film. But all in all, No Way Home was a disappointment for me. If you like heroic happy endings where you run out of the theater feeling like Spider-Man, then curb your expectations because this ending feels like a major bummer.